All right, so we're diving deep today into some seriously motivating stuff. We're looking at how to break free from that feeling of just going through the motions, complacency.
Yeah, exactly.
These sources are packed with like fiery kind of energy. It's amazing.
It is. It really is. And I think one of the things that really struck me is how they all describe complacency.
Yeah.
It's not just laziness, right? It's like this sneaky, insidious
Oh, ooh, I
force.
like that. Insidious.
It creeps into everything. You slowly build this almost like a cocoon of good enough around yourself.
Wow, yeah, a cocoon.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're stifled. You're procrastinating. You're afraid to fail. You're maybe even, people pleasing so much that you're not true to yourself.
Right. And one source even used this image of complacency as a soft skin that we develop,
Oh,
which I thought was so powerful because it's like we're trading in our thick skin, that adventurous, resilient skin, for something that's thin and fragile because we're scared to get out there and be uncomfortable.
and that is, I think, the key, right? Because
Yeah.
real growth, it doesn't happen in a bubble. It happens when we challenge ourselves, when we push past what's easy and comfortable.
Absolutely. And speaking of pushing past our comfort zones, let's talk about embracing challenges.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of the sources used this analogy of a seasoned sailor.
Okay.
They don't just magically know how to navigate a hurricane, right? They learn by doing it, by facing those storms head on. And with every challenge, every time they get knocked down, they get back up and they figure out how to, ride those waves.
I love that. And that ties into what a lot of these sources talk about as developing a growth mindset.
Ooh, yes.
So it's shifting your perspective. Instead of saying, why me? You say, okay, what can I learn from this? What's the opportunity here?
Of it.
Because discomfort often means we're stretching.
Yeah.
We're growing. We're becoming more than we were before.
Yeah. I used to have a huge fear of public speaking, like heart pounding, palms sweating. I would just want to disappear.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But forcing myself to do it over and over again, honestly, the best thing I ever did. It wasn't just about conquering the fear. It was about proving to myself that I could handle anything.
Exactly. And that builds resilience, right?
Yes.
Which, speaking of resilience, one source had this awesome analogy of a tree weathering a storm.
Ooh, tell me more.
So it's not about avoiding the tough times. It's about those deep roots.
Right.
Those strong branches that can bend without breaking.
So powerful.
And the key takeaway here, I think, is that resilience, it's like a muscle. You got to work it out.
You got to work it out.
And the more you expose yourself to, stress, to adversity,
The stronger it gets.
the stronger it gets. And the sources offer some pretty concrete steps for doing this too. Like, cultivating self-awareness, understanding what your triggers are,
Yeah.
building that strong support system, and prioritizing self-care. These aren't just, nice sounding phrases. These are tools, practical tools that you can use to weather any storm.
Love it. And you know what else is a muscle?
What's that?
Self-discipline.
Oh, tell me about it.
One source had this incredible image of a sculptor chipping away at excess stone, slowly revealing a masterpiece.
Okay, yeah.
And it's how I see self-discipline. It's not about deprivation. It's about shaping our lives.
It's intentional.
Intentionally, making those choices that are in line with our goals, even when it's hard.
Even when you want that instant gratification, right?
Exactly. But the sources have some really helpful tips for building self-discipline.
Like what?
Well, like setting really clear intentions, breaking down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps,
Yeah.
and creating environments that set us up for success. Like if you're trying to eat healthier, don't keep a pantry full of junk food.
Makes sense.
Right.
If you're trying to focus on work, maybe put your phone in another room.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right, exactly.
It's so fascinating how, all of these things connect. We're talking about self-discipline, resilience, and then one of the sources shares this really compelling story about a young artist apprenticing under a master painter.
Okay.
And it really highlights just how crucial the people we surround ourselves with are.
It's huge.
Our mentors, our friends, our social circles, they influence our aspirations, our beliefs, even our behavior.
It's true.
It's amazing.
You start to kind of take on the qualities of the people you spend the most time with.
You really do.
It's kind of scary sometimes.
It is. It is. So it's worth taking a moment to really think about, who are those people you spend the most time with?
Yeah.
Do they lift you up? Do they challenge you? Do they inspire you to be better?
And if not,
If not, maybe it's time to reevaluate those relationships.
yeah, maybe diversify that social circle a little bit. Find some folks who are doing the things that you want to do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
People who embody those qualities that you admire.
Exactly. And don't forget mentors. Mentors are so valuable because they've walked the path,
I've
right?
been there.
They can offer you guidance, support.
That wisdom, that experience.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about confronting complacency, embracing challenges, building that resilience, and surrounding ourselves with those inspiring
And it's
folks.
all connected, right?
It is. It is. But where does all this lead? What's the ultimate goal?
Well, based on these sources, it really seems like it's all about leaving a lasting impact on the world. And not in terms of fame or fortune, but in terms of, you know, a life well lived,
Right, right.
living with purpose, living with integrity.
And making a real difference in the lives of others.
Exactly.
So how do we actually do that? How do we leave that mark?
That's the million-dollar question. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into next.
Can't wait. Buckle up.
Welcome back. So, as we keep digging into these sources, there's this one idea that keeps popping up. It's this desire to leave a mark on the world, to have a real impact.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it's not about like ego or chasing fame or anything like that.
No, not at all. It's more about recognizing that we each have the potential to make a difference.
To leave things a little better than we found them.
Exactly. And what I found really interesting is how these sources emphasize that leaving a mark, it's not about some grand heroic gesture.
Right.
It's really about the small things.
The little things we do every day.
Exactly. The everyday actions, the kindness, the compassion, the integrity.
Yeah.
It's those ripples that we send out into the world.
One source even compared it to a tapestry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Each thread, even the tiniest one, contributes to the overall beauty and complexity of the piece.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is, right? It's a good reminder that even our smallest actions, they all matter.
They do. They really do. It's fascinating how this connects back to what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, remember we were talking about embracing challenges and building resilience?
Yeah.
Those qualities are so crucial for making a lasting impact.
Absolutely. Because creating positive change, it rarely comes easy.
No, it doesn't.
It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in.
To challenge the status quo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it takes resilience to keep going when things get tough.
To bounce back from those setbacks?
Yeah, for sure. There's this one story in one of the sources about a young activist,
Okay.
and they dedicated their life to fighting for social justice.
Wow.
And they faced so many obstacles, opposition at every turn.
I bet.
But their unwavering commitment, their resilience, it inspired a whole movement.
That's incredible.
And it led to real meaningful change.
That's so inspiring. It reminds me of how these sources also emphasize aligning our actions with our passions.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where our talents and interests meet the needs of the world.
Right. It's like that saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Exactly. One of the sources put it this way. When we're driven by passion, our work becomes an expression of our soul, and our impact becomes a reflection of our truest selves.
Oh, I love that.
So I think it's worth taking some time to reflect on what truly lights you up.
Yeah, what are we passionate about?
Exactly. What are you curious about? What injustices make you want to make a difference? What problems are you uniquely equipped to solve?
The sources are full of amazing examples of people making a difference by following their passions.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
We read about artists using their creativity to raise awareness about social issues.
Cool.
Entrepreneurs building businesses that empower marginalized communities.
Amazing.
Educators dedicating their lives to unlocking the potential of future generations.
It's so inspiring, right? To see people using their passions to make a difference.
It really is.
Uh,
And what's even more inspiring is that these people, they didn't necessarily set out to be heroes or change makers.
right. They just followed their hearts.
Exactly. They pursued what they loved.
And in doing so, they made a real impact.
One source even suggested that we ask ourselves this question. If you could leave behind a legacy that would inspire generations to come, what would it be?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
It is. It really makes you think about the kind of impact you want to have on the world.
It does. And it reminds us that leaving a mark, it's not about waiting for some big opportunity.
Yeah.
It's about making the most of every moment, every interaction, every chance we have to make a difference.
So true. So as we continue on this journey,
Yes.
let's turn our attention inward for a bit.
Okay.
And explore the tools and the strategies that can empower us to leave our own unique and lasting mark on the world. Welcome back. So we've been on this journey exploring how to break free from complacency, build resilience, surround ourselves with inspiration. But now, how do we actually leave that lasting positive impact? Like, how do we actually make a difference?
Yeah, the million-dollar question, right. And it's interesting because these sources don't offer a simple formula or a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
Instead, they really emphasize self-discovery. It's like, that's the foundation.
Makes sense, right? Can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Exactly. How can we give to the world? How can we make a difference if we don't even know our own strengths, our passions, our purpose?
Right, right. So it's about looking inward first.
Yeah, it's about